Trish, I think I did it all right, and you should have privileges to share the presentation now. And then, perfect. Yep. So Shawn, go ahead, kick it off whenever you're ready.
All right. Yeah, everybody can see the screen? That's a yes? Yeah, got it. This was just a quote that I loved. I saw, oh gosh, probably 15, 20 years ago. And it was actually by one of the executive producers of Monday Night Football. And it talked about some of the changes they were making, but it was basically, they had asked the executive producer, they brought the comedian Dennis Miller on as part of the broadcast team. And it was a very non-traditional move. And they said, what are you trying to do? And they were trying to shake up the broadcast a little bit and improve ratings. Monday Night Football had gone down a little bit. And the quote was, we want to be relevant to the diehards, a little curious to the never evers, and unpredictable to both. And I love that. And I thought that really defines, what we're trying to do with the Dogs and really probably all of minor league baseball. But if you think about that, relevant to the diehards. So we want to be true to the baseball fans and, and respectful of the game. Just many of you on the call from Naperville, never been to a game. We want our marketing and our game. We want to make it you curious, want to come. And once you're there, again, a little bit irreverent, unpredictable. That's what we do, and that's our product every night. So that's why I included this quote to kind of kick things off. We are part of the American Association. We are, which the next slide I'll show you in a second, but we are one of, there are 3 major partner league, what are now called partner leagues to Major League Baseball. Our roots are independent in that we are not affiliated with one single Major League Baseball team. We enjoy independence on our operations. Our players are fluid to move to really any organization. This year we sold 6 player contracts to MLB teams. They happen to be all pitchers. Most of them right now at the AA or AAA level. So the equivalent of baseball in the American Association is really AA. But one of the benefits of being independent is the ability to go into a market like Chicago. Historically, there were territory protections, and that's why you don't see a lot of minor league teams. One of the best run teams in all of affiliated ball is in Dayton. I'm sure Packy knows that. The Dayton Dragons are probably one of the best run organizations and have been since their inception, moving to Dayton. But those typically can't go into major markets like Chicago, Kansas City, Milwaukee. That's why the independents can. So if you look at the footprint there, we have 12 teams. We're as far north as Winnipeg and as far south as the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Cleburne. But our ability to go into markets like Dallas-Fort Worth, Kansas City, Chicago, Milwaukee is because of our independent status, and that we haven't historically fallen under the rules of affiliated minor league baseball. It was only in the last year that we now have a dotted line to MLB and are called a partner league. So we kind of have the best of both worlds. For those of you that do have ties to the Chicagoland area, Rosemont is quite an amazing suburb. It only has about 4,500 residents, but the community punches way beyond its weight. So 4,500 residents, but the daytime population of Rosemont, pre and post COVID is about 100,000 a day between the people that are working here, the headquarter companies, and the visitors that are staying in the hotels that support the convention center in O'Hare. The Stevens Convention Center here is the 10th busiest convention center in the United States. So Chicago has 2 of the top 10. But it is a dynamic community, and the residents here don't pay property taxes. It's the opposite. They actually get a distribution because the tax base here generated from retail, the big shopping mall that's here, the hotels, the restaurants. Actually, there's so much tax revenue generated that each resident actually gets about a $3,000 a year, what they call a home improvement distribution. So where I pay some pretty hefty property taxes, I have a home in Los Angeles, the people here in Rosemont get money back. It's pretty awesome, but it's a dynamic business community. And we were built with what's called tax increment financing. So they used sales tax, both current sales tax and future sales tax, to float bonds that ended up building what is our home, which is called Impact Field. But a lot of cool headquartered companies here, big ones, US Food, Culligan, the Big Ten actually is headquarters of the conference, is located literally about 50 yards across the highway from our center field. Just some shots here of Rosemont. The top one there is one of the restaurants. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner is the Rosemont Theater. There on the bottom right is the Stevens Convention Center. What's not there, I don't think, Trish, is the Allstate Arena. So Allstate Arena here in Rosemont has been around for about 40 years. It is still today one of the top 5 or 6 grossing concert venues in the country. Because it doesn't host an NBA or an NHL team, it doesn't have to compete for dates. So there are a lot of concert tours that come in and play here. Most notably, probably 5-6 years ago, when Garth Brooks went back on tour, he started his worldwide tour here in Rosemont because he's loyal to Rosemont because it gave him a break early in his career when he was an unknown. But I think he played like 12 nights in a row, sold out shows in Rosemont. So there's a lot happening here. The Fashion Outlets up in the upper right-hand corner, one of the highest grossing malls in the United States. Now we'll skip past this one, a little bit about the dogs. So this is an interesting an article. This isn't something that we developed internally, but an article I read over the last 2 years called the Golden Circle of the why, how, what. Why do we exist? How do we exist? What is it that we do to support that? And I think the why is, we exist. Our mission, you'll see in a second, is to be the best create the best ballpark experience in the country, where every day is Fan Appreciation Day. And that's something that was important to me when we were, creating the ideas for this team and the brand. Is every team, every major professional team in every league, the last game of the season is typically Fan Appreciation Day, where people just call it Fan Appreciation Day. Thank you for supporting us. There's usually fun giveaways and contests and prizes. And I, after all my years in the business, I thought, well, what if we kind of approach this that every single game is Fan Appreciation Day? And through our research and data that really Trish oversees on a daily basis, about 20% on average of our audience every single night is there for the first time. So that's a lot of responsibility on us. Many of them, young families and kids, are there for their first professional baseball game. So it's got to be a good one. So the why in our story and why we exist is create the best ballpark experience where every day is Fan Appreciation. How do we do that? We put on a 3.5-hour show every night. Our product isn't baseball. It's the 3.5-hour experience between the time people park their car, enjoying the ballpark, and going home. It's the crazy between inning promotions. It's the giveaway. It's the mascot. Baseball plays a supporting role. It's great baseball. And this year we had our best season on the field ever, but really the how is through our 3.5. The what is by creating moments of truth. And Nathan knows this, and this is something that I learned my first year at the Timberwolves. And this is something that, if there's one thing you remember about tonight, and it's something that I've, been committed to and kind of preached my whole 30 years in the business, is we want to be in the business of creating great moments of truth. And a moment of truth is a first and everlasting impression. And there are small moments of truth and there are big moments of truth. But we, as in the Chicago Dogs, we're in the business of creating great moments of truth and those everlasting impressions. There's the mission: create the best ballpark experience where every day is Fan Appreciation Day. Now, the report card, and this is what we ask ourselves, and we're going to get into some examples here of moments of truth, but it's pretty simple, and this isn't just for the dogs. I mean, this is, University of Iowa athletics should be thinking about this, and the Chicago Cubs and the Lakers and the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys we should all have the same report card, or a Justin Timberlake tour. At the end of the night, the report card, you should ask 3 questions. Did my guest have fun? Number 2, will they come back? And number 3, will they tell somebody about it? And so everything we do into that 3.5-hour show each night, and our commitment to creating moments of truth from the time you park your car until you go home at night, we want our fans asking themselves subconsciously those 3 questions. Did I have fun? Will I come back? And will I tell somebody? So I jumped ahead a little bit, a minute ago, talking about moments of truth. But as I said, when I started my first day at the Timberwolves, I was handed a book called Moments of Truth that still is in circulation today. So the book's probably 35 years old, but it was written by Jan Carlson, who was the chairman CEO of the Scandinavian airline SAS. And he took it over out of bankruptcy. And his whole business model and vision was empowering every employee, from the executive offices to the front line, to make decisions that were in the best interest of the customer. And they were there to create great moments of truth, those, first and everlasting impressions. And whether it was a baggage handler, a gate representative, somebody at the ticket counter, a flight attendant, a pilot, they were empowered to make good decisions. And that's what we try to do at the Dogs. Is it's all about the guests. The heroes aren't the players on the field. The heroes are the fans, and making sure that's a guest experience. Now, it's a little bit easier for us because we have 6,000 seats. A little bit harder to do that, to provide that one-on-one, maybe sometimes custom service and moments of truth, harder at the Cubs than it is the Dogs, but we're committed to it. This is a screenshot. So this is what I would call in the category of a giant moment of truth. And this was when we unveiled the name, the Chicago Dogs, and we did it on live television on WGN in Chicago back in 2017. This event was actually produced by our PR firm, Carol Fox and Associates, who have been our PR firm, have really probably done more for us outside resource than anybody, but they've been with us and they continue to work with us now going into year 5. But they secured what was basically a 3-hour commercial on WGN, which is still the #1 news station in morning news in Chicago, and one of the top rated in the United States. So we unveiled live, and we had 100 people in hot dog costumes, and then we got on a double-decker bus and took our party on the road and went to all kind of the famous iconic places around Chicago, handing out free Chicago hot dogs and really kind of having a celebration. So this was a giant moment of truth. I think the event cost about $50,000, but the benefits we got, continue to serve us today. We did it at the famous Wiener Circle, which is down on Clark Street, which is one of the famous hot dog stands in Chicago. And as you can imagine, a team named the Chicago Dogs, we have to be authentic and do it someplace that's a part of the rich tradition of the city. Small moments of truth, right? I talked about first, one of the lost arts is a handwritten thank you note. So we're big on that. One of the great, not to call him out, but Nathan, one of the great things I remember at the end of his internship this summer, which he did a great job, I got just an incredible 2-page thank you note from Nathan, and that's something I saved and is in my desk. And to this day, I still write thank you notes at the end of each season to everyone that played a key role in our success. So our account executives that are in ticket sales, they write thank you notes to all of their groups after each game that come out, whether it's a group of 15 or a group of 500, they write thank you. So again, I'm trying to showcase that moments of truth are things that we can do our whole life. Some are big, some are small. This is another moment of truth. Every year for our season ticket holders, we host a an event up in our private club, which can hold about 250 people. And so it's next week during the World Series. We'll have 3 of them on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. But our season ticket holders can come in, and we put on a buffet, and beer and wine and soft drinks are included, and watch the World Series as a thank you. And here's a photo from one of the past years, but this will be the 4th year we've done a World Series watch party. Probably the biggest moment of truth that we've ever pulled off, in addition to doing it on unveiling the team name on live television, was when we set a world record for most people in a hot dog costume. And this is a shot of 6,000 people wearing hot dog costumes on opening night of 2019. And I know we're going to talk, tonight and days forward about, you all potentially coming up with a theme night. And really what defines a great theme night is something that can be promoted in advance. There's really kind of 3 elements. Can you promote this thing and get people excited and sell tickets in advance? Number 2, is it a fun, festive event the night of? And 3, is there some sort of a legacy effect? And as you can see here from photos, this event kind of lives on famously forever, where we've got pictures of people, 6,000 people in a hot dog costume. And by the way, they were nice hot dog costumes. We sourced them, Trish did. We designed them and had them shipped from China. It was an extremely expensive promotion. But as you can imagine, those 6,000, it was actually 6,500 people in hot dog costumes will remember that the rest of their lives. For those that weren't there, they wish they were there. So this got a lot of coverage, some national coverage, but certainly regionally. But again, no team had ever done this, but for us, it was very much on brand. All of 2020 was a moment of truth for us. The entire year, we like to talk about COVID in terms of the gifts that were given to us during what was a otherwise horrible time. But we were the only professional baseball team in Chicago that was allowed to play in front of fans. And the state allowed us to play in front of 20% capacity. So you can imagine baseball diehards, if they wanted to see the game, they could only come to Impact Field and see the Chicago Dogs. So we filled that every night. We averaged 1,400 a night, which was, about 20% capacity. And the media coverage that we got was unbelievable. On opening night, all 4 television networks, were here broadcasting live for the 6 and 10 o'clock news. And that's, for a little team like ours, that's coverage we couldn't buy if we wanted to. So it was awesome. So all of 2020 was a moment of truth for the Chicago Dogs. This is another moment of truth, more on the philanthropic side, but this is we do this every year. It's called Gold Glove Charities, where we play in special jerseys. We auction those as well as a silent auction, and all the money goes to the Gold Glove charity in support of families battling pediatric cancer. And this particular shot on the left, which I'd say it's my favorite moment, top 3 favorite moments. This was a young man that we called the home run for life, and the game was stopped. I believe it was the 4th inning, and both teams came out and lined the field. It was a sold-out game, basically standing room only. And this young man in a wheelchair that was battling, cancer, got to, with the help of one of our star players, travel the bases or run the bases in the 4th inning with the entire crowd on their feet, and both players lining, the first and third base line. So it was, again, an image that was, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And so one of my favorite games every year is Gold Glove Charity, and it's really cool. The players love it. On the day of the event, the kids that are battling pediatric cancer and the families get to come in, have a private meal during the afternoon, and get to hang out with the players in advance of the game. It's really pretty cool. Game entertainment, I mentioned earlier, it's a shot of our 2 mascots. One is a bottle of mustard. His name is Squeeze. And then we have one that just is the evil villain Ketchup for those of you that aren't from Chicago, you understand that you do not put ketchup on a hot dog. It's against the law, or it should be. But as we segue into game entertainment, as I mentioned, our product isn't baseball, it's the show. It's the 3.5 show. And how we break that down really and how we program the show, the runner show is gates open, usually an hour before first pitch, sometimes an hour and a half. But we program that show so there's entertainment from the time they set foot in and they leave. Music and videos. We actually have a DJ that's part of our staff, DJ Jay Cabrera, who's also works for the Blackhawks, does a great job. The mascots are a part of that. Giveaways. Every Friday night, we give away a cool item. And then, minor league baseball is famous for its crazy promotion between innings, whether it's, our big underwear race or battle balls or lucky dog, which is like a big giant Plinko game. We have something that is, we try to entertain the entire audience every time. So we want people looking forward to the inning breaks as much as they look forward to the baseball. Just a couple of shots there. Friday nights, you see in the upper right-hand corner, kids can run the bases on Friday nights. We do a couple parades. There on the left is a parade. We have a couple of nights each year where you can bring your dog, called Bark at the Ballpark. We have a field host that's usually a woman or a man that's kind of serving as master of ceremonies. You can see there, that's one of our hostess interviewing a kid in, I think that was probably 2018. And then on the right-hand corner is the battle balls, which happens usually in the second inning. The business side, just kind of some highlights. And again, this is a presentation that we shared with Nathan and the team this summer. That's actually a shot from the outfield looking in on that hot dog costume giveaway from 2019. But really the key parts of our business operations, the revenue stream, sponsorship, ticket sales, special events, which I'll talk about in a second. We have a big one coming up here, a big winter festival, food and beverage, our retail store as well, because the dogs merchandise is very unique and popular. And then, marketing, we are, at least we attempt on any given day to be a marketing machine to promote the brand. I will say of all the teams I've run, this is the most exciting. It's probably also the most challenging because of how big and competitive the Chicago market is. If you think about it, I've run some pretty big franchises, including the LA Kings and had a hand in the Lakers. If you think about that, those teams are in my market, the Cubs or the Chicago Bears, they're on the news every single day. So during football season, the Bears are on radio and television, newspaper, morning, noon, night. The dogs, we have to work hard and we have to create and earn or pay for every impression. So marketing is a big part of what we do. Sponsorship, the dogs do well on sponsorship. It's a philosophy that I brought from, really past decades, going back 20 years to the opening of the Staples Center out in Los Angeles, which is home to the Lakers and the Kings, and that's less is more. So we have 10 major sponsorships. A lot of minor league teams will have 40 or 50. The outfield wall is cluttered with signs, and it doesn't look very attractive. We have a very clean ballpark commercially. So our ballpark probably looks more like Wrigley Field than not. So what you see before you is the 10 major sponsors that we all have on multi-year contracts. And they're all big, either national or regional brands. Those 10 major sponsorships we call founding partners. And so they are, really brand dominant. So when you come to a game, you leave knowing that Hyundai was a big part of that experience, or Wintrust or Vienna or Coca-Cola. So the elements are starting with branded destinations. So those 10 big partners are well branded and dominant inside the stadium. They're part of our digital media through our social, through our website, through our broadcast. All of our games are streamed. Many of those sponsors have a unique, they own a place in the stadium. So for example, Line and Kugels is part of the Miller Coors portfolio of beers. one of our major party decks, which can host up to 300 people, is called the Liney Lodge and is branded after Liney. Rivers Casino, they're entitled of our private club. It's called the River Stadium Club. All of them are, enjoy ticketing and hospitality. And then perhaps our most valuable asset and sponsorship is we own a two-sided scoreboard. So there's the part in stadium that fans see and see the video replays and the lineups and the player photos. On the back of it is an out-of-home digital board. So just those 10 founding partners rotate 24 hours a day, year round. And so there's great value and measurable value to our sponsorship. And I mentioned earned media. I said, we worked with one agency really from the start, Carol Fox and Associates, our PR firm. So they do a great job of getting the Dogs brand and our sponsors exposure through traditional and non-traditional media. There's a shot actually of our beautiful 294 board from the highway. So it's the clarity on our 294 board is amazing. So every 10 seconds, one of our 10 partners rotates 24 hours a day. So they end up being up. Coca-Cola ends up being their message, and they can change that message, by the way. They use 3 or 4 different creatives because they use Dasani water, they use Sprite, sometimes they do Powerade, but they end up being up about 22,000 rotations a month. So the value, just that board alone has a value of probably about $110,000 a year for a particular sponsor. The nice thing is it's measurable. There's everything. No, you're good. This is the Miller Lite bullpen. So this is a small party deck that can accommodate up to about 40 people, and you can come in and bring a group in, and that's your private space, and have a picnic there. We cater it and bring in, and you can bring in a bar and a bartender. But that's one of our 6 unique branded party decks that are integrated as part of our sponsorships. This is the Vienna Beef sign. That's deceiving. It's actually a 20-foot lit sign. So I'm looking outside. It's pretty dark right now. People driving by the stadium, this sits out in left field. The 200,000 cars that pass by our stadium daily, besides seeing that beautiful digital board, this is one of the things they see. And so this is one of the, when we did our deal with Vienna, this is one of the pieces that the chairman wanted. Sample of our outfield wall. Again, there's just 10 outfield wall signs, so it's very clean. You go into some minor league ballparks around the United States, you might see 50 or 60 signs, and it's just, it's very, it's just not very appealing for the sponsor or for the fan. Example of one of our giveaways. We give away, as I mentioned earlier, really cool stuff that people actually want, that they're going to use or they're going to wear, they're going to take home. So everything from backpacks for the kids right around back to school time to we have hat night, t-shirt night, mini bat night, bobblehead night. We won't give away anything unless it's of high quality. And then lastly here, this is a couple of quotes, but and there's one or two more, but I found this one as well. A woodpecker can. My screen's blocking me there. I think
that little minus button up there on your.
Oh, there we go. Hang on a second. There we go. A woodpecker can tap 20 times on 1,000 trees and get nowhere, but stay busy. Or he can tap 20,000 times one tree and get dinner. And I thought that, if you just read that and digest it, it's really a quote about perseverance and sticking to your game plan. And what I love is every day, somebody new is discovering the dogs. So we work very hard, and it is hard, as I mentioned, to rise above the noise in a market like Chicago. I wear something, you can't really see it. I'm wearing one of my Chicago dog sweatshirts right now. But I love whenever I fly, and I live in Denver. It's my full-time home, but I end up being in Chicago about 150 to 175 days a year. I'm here for the entire baseball season. I'm here 2 days a week during the winter. So every week that I fly, I'm in a dog's sweatshirt. And I love it when somebody will come up on a plane and say, "Hey, have you ever been to a Dogs game?" And I love to say, "Hey, I've been to every single one." And they don't know what to say, but I laugh and then I introduce myself. But this quote is a great one, and it's really all about perseverance. Getting into ticket sales a little bit. How are we doing on time, by the way? Time check. What time is it, Trish?
6:50.
Oh, we're running. I need to speed up here. Are we doing okay, Nathan?
Yeah, no, you're all good.
I probably have about 5 more minutes, and I feel bad because I wanted to leave some time for questions. But in terms of ticket sales, which, you know, other than the NFL, which makes its largest revenue stream is television, for the rest of us around the world, typically the biggest is tickets. You know, whether it's Major League Baseball, the NHL, the NBA, your number one revenue stream is typically ticket sales. And so for us, that's true. And our strongest marketing tool is a sold out game. And it's impossible for us to sell out 50 games. So what we try to do is fill the building 10 to 12 times during the year. There's a shot you can see is you don't want to go to you don't want to eat at a restaurant that's empty. People want to go to a ballpark that's full and vibrant. So our philosophy on how to sell out those 10 to 12 games is take your best games and make them better. Take your good games and make them great. Take a Saturday night and put your best promotions on there. Your best promotions, whether it's you know, Elvis night or bring your dog to the ballpark. We do fireworks every Saturday night. So Saturday is typically your best night in baseball. We put our best promotions, which is fireworks, on there. You then take your best nights, your best promotions, and put them into the best packages. So our mini plans are our best-selling products. In minor league baseball, people typically don't commit to a 50-game season ticket, but they will commit to a 6 or 12-game package. So we put our best 6 games of the year in our 6-game packages, because we then know those 6 games are going to sell out. And then the next 6 best games we add on to that, put into our 12-game package. So we end up selling about 1,500 mini plans that are a combination of 6 and 12, but that serves as a nice foundation for our goal of selling out 10 to 12 games. And you can see kind of the construction of a sellout, you know, is at the base of the pyramid, trying to get to 6,000 tickets is selling those mini plans. Then, you know, groups, having a concerted effort, a focused effort on groups. And then the last part of a sellout is those individual ticket game buyers. Special events, obviously, you know, we play baseball 50 nights a year, and that leaves a bunch of other nights to do cool things. Up in the left-hand corner, very excited. We are launching the Amaze Light Festival on November 19th, and we'll have 33 shows. So we'll run every day except Mondays and Tuesdays, but it will be one of the biggest light festivals in the United States. So the entire ballpark is turned into an illuminated world, or actually several illuminated worlds. There'll be a train, there'll be a big two-story tube slide, and then people can walk through and see these different illuminated worlds. But it's something we've worked on for 2 years and had to wait till this year because of COVID. But we anticipate actually bringing in more guests through the light show than we actually do baseball. So pretty fired up about that. Food and beverage, a big part. You know, people end up spending almost exactly in food and beverage what they spend on a ticket. We're very low priced on our tickets, but we have a very solid food and beverage partner, Levy Restaurants, which is one of the top providers of food and beverage to professional sporting venues. They're in Levy's, actually, they're a large international public company headquartered in Chicago, but they do, you know, all the major players in Chicago. So they've got United Center and Wrigley Field, and they have a big part of Comiskey, where the White Sox, and they do big, you know, they do where I used to work, the Staples Center. They've got biggest venues, but food and beverages is our 3rd biggest revenue stream. And then followed by a retail store. You know, we do have such a, you know, kind of a Chicago centric with the Chicago colors and the 4 stars. You know, it's fun to see people wearing dogs gear when I'm out and about town. It's more and more so. Mentioned marketing. We of the minor league teams in our region, we probably invest the most in marketing. We do spend on television, radio, outdoor, print. Of course, digital is probably our biggest as the world moves in that direction. But those are just some snapshots of what we've done. And we actually had on WGN, we actually did a live telecast at the ballpark on a Friday night for the first time. It was not a full game broadcast live, but it was an hour special that included some play-by-play, but also really kind of highlighted all of the fun you can have at the ballpark. So our goal is clearly to do that again in 22 and maybe even add some games. Another great quote, a good friend of mine, and another mentor, he actually, his family owns the Arizona Cardinals in the NFL. We became friends when I ran the NHL team down in Phoenix, but he used to say, you know, and I think his dad taught him this, if you're not the most talented person in the room, you better be the most prepared. And I can tell you in my entire career, I've never been the most talented. So, you know, that's forced me to try to be prepared. And that's just something I think, you know, again, not all of us are given the gift of being the biggest, the strongest, the fastest, if you're an athlete, or the smartest, but we're all given the gift of being allowed to prepare. And so that's what we try to do at the Dogs, is always prepare for success. And then I'll just end the slide kind of where we started in the golden circle of the why, how, what is, after you've heard me talk a little bit about it, is, you know, we exist to be, you know, the best ballpark experience where every day is Fan Appreciation Day. How we do it is through our 3.5 hour shows. And really what our business is creating great moments of truth. Is we want those people enjoying first and everlasting impressions and going back and asking those questions. Did I have fun? Will I come back? And will I tell somebody? So sorry for going so fast, but that's a little bit of overview on who we are and kind of where we're headed.
Definitely appreciate that, Shawn. Thank you for sharing that presentation again. I remember when I heard that for the first time, I was just astonished and taken back by, you know, how much goes on behind the scenes, a lot of the planning, and, you know, kind of how this whole organization was built upon. I know I definitely enjoyed hearing that a second time. And you all on it, even though that was kind of long, I think you answered a lot of the questions that I know I had, and a lot of topics that we discussed yesterday as to what we were looking for from this project. You definitely hit on a lot of points relating to marketing, you know, sponsorship and whatnot. I guess for me, I'll just start off real quick with the question here, because this is a theme night project. I know of some of the theme nights you've got done in the past, but for everybody here who isn't aware, what have been some of the most like successful theme nights that you guys have taken part in throughout the seasons that you've been established as an organization?
Absolutely. So I think probably I'll mention like maybe 3 or 4. Bring your dog to the ballpark. That's simple, but you know, people love their dogs, and it's one of my favorite nights of the year. And we usually have between 300 and 400 dogs. We do a big dog parade, so you don't realize how many dogs until you see people come down to the field, and the parade just it encompasses the entire, you know, perimeter of the field. Elvis night has become a good one. We found one of the, you know, I think one of the top Elvis impersonators in the country. He's 19 years old, but he sounds like Elvis. And so we've really built that up over the last 2 years. Star Wars night is always a big one, where we bring in the Legion. And so we have a lot of Hollywood quality costumes come in, where we actually make a donation, a charitable donation. That's what this group asked. And these are people that, you know, invest in some cases thousands of dollars in their costumes, Stormtrooper, Darth Vader, and different Star Wars famous characters. And then our fans come dressed. So you see kids come in costumes. That's a big one for us. Another one that's been wildly successful the last 2 years is Jimmy Buffett night, where people come and we partner with the, you know, kind of the local fan club of Jimmy Buffett, the Parrot Heads. And so those have been well attended. So a theme night can be just that, a particular theme. It could be, you know, like we did the hot dog costumes. That was wildly expensive because we had to pay, you know, those hot dog costumes, I think cost close to $4 per person. You can imagine that times 6,500. We deemed it was worthy that year because of the everlasting expect. We can't afford to do that every time. But a theme night can be something that, you know, you celebrate a person or a brand or a, you know, an iconic, you know, movie, like, you know, we've done Caddyshack, we've done Star Wars. It can be a giveaway, but again, the ingredients for a great giveaway, or a great theme night is it promotable in advance? Can you have a good runway up? Is it awesome the night of? Or people, do they show up and go, man, that was fun? And 3 is, can it live on in memories and images and videos so that people, when you promote it the next year, people say, I'm not going to miss that. I'm not going to miss Star Wars night, or I'm not going to miss Jimmy Buffett night.
Fun fact, actually, going back to that Elvis night, Hugo, the guy who impersonates Elvis, actually went to my high school. And I remember all throughout high school, he would always say that he would like travel across the country impersonating Elvis. And then when I got to see it for the first time this summer, it was just blew me away. Definitely one of my favorite nights this summer for sure.
He's awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know there was tons of information here shared, and I will obviously help everybody here if anybody's curious, or we can share the recording as well if you missed out on anything. But does anybody else have any questions relating to the project, Shawn's career? I'm pretty sure Shawn would be more than happy to share anything about his career as well. Is there anybody here that has any initial questions relating to anything of that sort?
Yeah, I got one question. So when it comes to theme nights, like you were saying, like Star Wars night is always very popular. You guys do Elvis night a lot. Is there any theme nights you'd like us to stay away from? Because either like it hasn't worked in the past, it's too popular, like, or just used all the time, anything like that?
No, there's really not. You know, I think the guiding principles would be, is it in good taste? I think, we want to be irreverent, but we also remember at the end of the day, we want to be family friendly. And they're not mutually exclusive. I mean, we can have a lot of fun. Some nights are more adult, more adult thing. Thirsty Thursday, $2 beers, clearly geared a little bit more at the happy hour crowd and young adults than just this families. But I think is it good taste? But it's always good to kind of put it up and put it up against those three. Can I promote it? Is it awesome the night of? Is it, does it have a legacy? And also be topical, right? And we're always experimenting. We had one this year that I would say I probably wouldn't do again. It wasn't a failure, but we brought in a hypnotist, and the joke kind of was, we're going to hypnotize people so that they don't put ketchup on a hot dog. And this was a professional comedian hypnotist. He's actually a real hypnotist. And I would say it was okay. It was not, I would give it a B-, but I wouldn't, it wasn't one that passed the test. But we always look at, are there topical, is it the 40th anniversary of a movie, or is there something that's really trending on, TikTok, or, we haven't done it yet. A few teams around the region have done Stranger Things, the great Netflix hit. So it's just finding something that is current, relevant, and that that you can, again, it fits into those three dimensions of, can I promote it? And, can I really bring it to life the night of?
Great to know. Thank you.
I know I have a few questions, but anybody else here have a few questions before I kind of take over here? All right, Shawn, you definitely mentioned the market and, kind of how the way the Chicago Dogs go about marketing. Definitely something that we want to focus on within this project is, picking out specific groups that we want to focus on to come out to these events. So I guess my question to you here is, like, what are some of like target markets or demographics that you guys mainly focus on to come to games? I know families and children are definitely a huge part of that. But is there anything that you can tell us about, going into detail about like specific areas in the city, Chicagoland area, or outside of the Chicagoland area that you guys focus on, along with specific groups of people that you focus on as well?
Yeah, so I'd say just right off kind of the top of my head, there's of course, and by the way, this is not in particular order, but clearly baseball fans, because it is a great, we do have a high level of baseball, in just by the number of our players. By the way, couple, I don't know if any of you are watching the World Series right now, but the Dodgers have a pretty hot pitcher right now, Max Scherzer, who started with the Nationals, was traded this year and's been on fire, and is one of the reasons the Dodgers are still in contention. He started on our league. So he's a product of the American Association, which is probably, one of our greatest alumni, which is pretty cool. But baseball, to answer your question, Nathan, the baseball audience, certainly families. I would say young adults. We've seen, certain theme nights are good for our, where we see just a lot of young adults, 21 to 35 coming out. And then seniors, I think, is a completely untapped market for us, the 65 plus that, baseball is their game. And so it's always fun. So I'm personally doing a lot of research right now, just studying what other teams have done around the country very well. The Richmond Flying Squirrels is a great minor league team out of Richmond, Virginia, and they seem to have a great senior program. They call it the Silver Squirrels. They have special ticket products, but I'd say those four groups, are where we try to target, on a more regular basis.
And I guess another follow-up question that I have here, I know we're still trying to figure out in terms of like, how big or how small we can go about planning these theme nights. And I know in our first initial call that you and I had with Olivia, we kind of like talked about like budgetary things, relating to like giveaways and whatnot. Is there any information that you can share relating to those things? Like maybe if we do decide to do with a giveaway, how can we go about, getting like bobbleheads or the backpacks that you showed with Coca-Cola? Is there any information that you can share with us relating to those kind of topics?
Yeah, so I almost don't want to put any restrictions on your creativity. And I think, what I've committed to here is I will always fund what we think is a great idea, or one that could fit that criteria, right? That really can have an everlasting impact on our brand. And that's something I want to go back to a comment I kind of said in the middle is doing things that are on brand. I don't know that there's any words I could give you that here's a paragraph that describes the Chicago Dogs brand. It's a feel that we've created, and you feel it when you come into the ballpark. And so even when we post something on social media every day, we'll ask ourselves, is this on brand? Does this feel like us? And so it's a promotion, and Nathan, because you've lived it. But I don't know that I would put any restrictions on like any giveaways, because I think if we found the right idea, and the hot dog costume idea, that came out of an internal brainstorm that we did after the 2018 season. And it was crazy and it was expensive, but we decided, this one, if we do it right, if we go all in, would be a tremendous investment. And we did. So, we can't go do that. That's not something we'd even do every year. That might be something you do every 5 years of that magnitude. But when we find a cool giveaway or a cool bobblehead idea, right? That's the other thing with bobbleheads. It doesn't necessarily, you don't have to do like a former player or retired player. It could be somebody that's just doing cool things. And this may be a good or a bad example, but we do a Chance the Rapper bobblehead for the Chicago Dogs if he agreed to do it, right? So that's the thing is we did a Mike Ditka. Coach Ditka was going to be our honorary manager to start the 2020 season on opening night. We were giving away 6,000 Ditka bobbles, and then COVID happened. So obviously the season was delayed, pushed back by 45 days, that sort of thing. But there was an example of, here's an iconic Chicago figure that everybody knows and pretty much everybody loves, and let's marry his brand with ours. And he happens to be a Vienna hot dog spokesperson, so it was a natural kind of a three-way partnership. But so those are types of ideas as well. The bobbleheads don't always have to be a current or former Dogs player. It could be just somebody that's cool that we want to celebrate.
I know the Mike Ditka bobblehead was definitely a popular one for sure this year. I know that we have a huge event, or you guys actually have a huge event happening this winter. You guys obviously having the Winter Festival. Is there any details that you can share with us relating to how that's going to affect Impact Field? I know some of the examples we gave yesterday was, Christmas in July theme night. So if we could get a little bit more information as to how the Chicago Dogs are going to be involved within this light festival, just to, get a couple more ideas in case anybody wants to go ahead and use that theme night for an example.
Yeah, so we actually, we co-own the show. So rather than just renting the stadium to the festival, so we actually invested in the village, and the Dogs own half of the show. And then we have the big lighting company owns the other half, that they're in the business of creating these big spectacular events. But for us, it's great for sponsors because it's just adding additional traffic. It's two months of, it's almost like adding a second team, so that the building becomes vibrant year round. And also there'll just be a whole bunch of people that will come to the ballpark for the first time that maybe have never heard of the Dogs, but they'll see the advertising or the marketing for the Amaze light festival, want to go do that, and then discover that it's a baseball stadium, and oh, maybe we should come back in summer and check this out.
Perfect. I know I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that this winter break. Hopefully, definitely making a visit to Impact Fields once we're out of here, out of school, and I'm back home. Definitely excited for that. I think that's pretty much all the questions I have covered relating to, like, sponsorship. I'm pretty sure you went really into detail, even more than I was expecting, relating to the marketing you guys do, the sponsorships. That's definitely something we wanted to focus on the project, and I'm very happy that you went into detail about that as well. Olivia, I know you and I are kind of leading this thing. Is there anything that you think I missed out on, or we should ask before we let Shawn go here tonight?
Yeah, so now that you're talking about sponsorship, speaking of which, when it comes to like promotional items, like bobbleheads, all that kind of stuff, do you want us to find new sponsors to just kind of maybe do like a one-time theme night, like partnership with the dogs, or would you like us to utilize like the sponsors you already have for those kinds of theme nights?
You could do both. Again, I don't want to restrict your creativity. So what I would suggest is you either look at our current, portfolio of multi-year partners and say, hey, this would be a good fit for Vienna, or this would be a good fit for Wintrust the bank. Or you could just think about like, hey, here's a category you don't have. Like, you don't have a mobile sponsor. These are categories we're working on, like a T-Mobile or an AT&T or Verizon, or a hospital or a fast food. So you might think about, so it won't be, we wouldn't hold you guys accountable for like, hey, this only works if you can find a sponsor. But as you think about it, you might say like, oh, this is a good fit for this particular industry or, category, or this particular brand.
Good to know. Thank you so much.
I know we're kind of getting close here on time. I told everyone it'd be 7 o'clock, but I definitely appreciate you sharing all the information, Shawn. Definitely want to take the time now before I kind of let you go here to thank you once again for joining us tonight. I know everybody here was super excited to have you, and I'm pretty sure everybody took away a lot of information and a lot of knowledge from your presentation. I know I did when I heard it the first time, and I'm pretty sure everyone else on this call did as well. Before we let Shawn go here, I definitely don't want to make sure nobody gets left out. Does anybody have any last minute questions before we kind of sign off here? Oh, sweet.
I apologize for going a little bit long, Nathan.
No apologies whatsoever. I'm pretty sure everybody didn't mind staying the couple extra minutes here. Like we said, I know we're all super excited to get all. I know Olivia